hello everyone. We have Sejal here, who's gotten placed in Amazon. She's also from VIT, and which is my alma mater. I've also graduated many years back from there. Right. So, Sejal, can you please tell us about the profile? What is the package offered exactly? And I know it's complicated. If you can, uncomplicate
Yeah.
that for us.
Okay, so hi everyone. My profile is support engineer intern. So it is mostly related to AWS and cryptography and the troubleshooting and the troubleshooting that happens. And we need support engineer in every department, be it payment products or be it Amazon Pay or be it AWS. In every profile, we need a support
So
engineer
mostly,
because
mostly,
we
mostly, as we were discussing earlier, you'll be working upon Java APIs. So you'll be
yeah
probably
yeah
creating APIs for, let's say, warehousing system wherein machines are able to communicate with one another. So there's an information that gets sent from the
yeah
central server and all of that. Uh,
yeah.
right. So it's basically an internal support for Amazon products
Internal
itself.
support, yeah, for all its products.
What is the package? Can you please tell us exactly the breakdown of that?
Package, so the I'm like I've been taken as the intern, so the starting stipend is 20,000. But as we if I get the PPO, it will be 7 is the base, and then we have plus RSU plus 5% bonus plus rest of the allowances, and I think it totals and sums up to somewhat 11 to 12 LPA.
Okay, got it. So again, there are different for all the other people. There are different
Yeah,
Amazon hiring. So one is for 28 LPA, that is different.
that is for
That's
the SD one
haha.
profile.
There's a 20 LPA also. There's one
Hmm.
12 LPA also. There's one 7 LPA also. Uh,
Hmm.
so these are the like four different packages that we know. Again, it keeps on changing every year, increases mostly, right? All the different ones are really good. Most importantly, the kind of company that Amazon is, it's all very good for your career to begin with. Uh,
Hmm.
Right. So let's talk about the written exam.
Okay.
We know that Amazon uses HackerRank also, AMCAT also, and Metal also. So AMCAT is used for 28 LPA and 20 LPA. I think for this one, 7 LPA, they are using Metal, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So can you tell us about the pattern? What were the different sections in that?
Okay, so so there were two coding questions in which it was basically a 1.5 hour paper, and which 30 minutes were there for two coding questions, and then we had different sections. One was related to OS on operating system, then one was on basic data structures and algorithms. Third one was mostly it was output questions and what will be the error, in which line the error you can see in the code. Fourth was, I think, if I'm not wrong, it was on Linux and Unix commands. And the fifth section was on software testing, black box testing, and everything. So there were 5 sections of which were MCQs, and every section had minimum 5 to 6 questions, and rest were the two coding questions.
Got it. So coding questions, I think, were competitive programming, right? Sort of.
Yeah,
Can you tell
both
us
of them were
okay, if you remember the concepts of the questions? Can you tell us about that?
Okay, so one was on basic. It was basically the palindromic partitioning question. It is famous case of this palindromic partitioning question, and one was that based on string manipulation, and the other one was on trees. Basically, what I realized was they were focusing on data structures. Both were data structures, and what they were trying to check was the basic clarity in data structures, and the other one was on mirror tree, and to find the lowest ancestor in that.
Okay, got it. So again, these are like being an EC person first of all.
Yeah.
These guys, EC people are good in basic level of coding, but these are like little. So you must have prepared really well. That takes a little. I know what's taught in data structures in VIT. That's like even just theoretical concepts, no coding in data structures.
Yeah.
Uh, there's a little coding for computer science people, but for EC people, there's no coding.
No.
Right. And Linux and Unix, how did you do? You studied that, or you just went blank for the exam?
Actually, I'm not good at the like software testing part or the Linux and Unix part. I studied operating system for my placements. I did that, and I studied rest of the data structures and everything beforehand. But about on the software testing and Unix commands, I just went haywire. I was like, okay, whatever my first instinct or I was like, okay, this might be the answer because I've
Got it, got it.
never studied Linux and Unix.
ठीक है. So let's talk about the interview. How many interview rounds were there?
Okay, so there were there were two rounds. And the first round was basically, so both the rounds were for 1 hour, one and a half hour max. And what they started off was with, so since I was from the EC background, they were checking my networking concepts mostly, computer networking concepts and TCP/IP protocol, how good I am at in TCP/IP protocol and all the protocols that were being followed in computer networking. The next thing they checked was my SQL, how was my database and everything, and what all languages I knew. So I told them that I know MySQL. So that's what started. This was the first round that I'm talking about. So they did these two, and then after that they went on to data structures, a bit of data structures here and there, in which they were asking the basic concepts about linked list and reverse the linked list and deleting a node from in the middle. What will be your approach towards it? And the next was the next half an hour, like the last half an hour, was dedicated to coding. And so it happened on Amazon Chime, their platform, the interview, and they gave us this their own whiteboard, and we had to write all the codes in front of them and tell the approach that and what I realized, like giving the past interviews also, was that you have to start from the most basic approach and then optimize it as you
Correct.
go forward. So
You should not
that's
tell
what I
you
did
should not tell the most optimized approach in the first go,
in the first place.
because
Yeah.
in that case, if they ask you 5 questions from coding, if you don't tell the optimized one, that gets reduced to 3, because you have to basically waste 1.5 hours and attempt as many right questions as you can. This is something that I used to do also. I did not study OS, DBMS and all throughout my placements. Zero. I didn't study.
Okay.
I just studied competitive coding and data structures. So I used to be,
Yeah.
just after my introduction, I used to just talk about, in my project, that okay, linked list and trees and graphs. So they're like, okay, you said these. Now I know for the next 1 hour would just be about data structures, because that's a very vast topic.
Very vast
And
topic. Yeah, totally.
obviously you would want me to write code, so you'll not ask
Yeah.
about other topics. So again, anyways, they have to ask about data structures and coding, right? So why tease with basic level of other things? So that's actually a good sense. And again, I used to do, so first ON square complicated complexity, and then n log
Yeah.
n and whatever is applicable.
And then log in, like just keep reducing it.
So
as
do you
much as
remember? Do you
can.
remember in the coding part what were the questions asked?
Yeah, first was, I think it was the basic, they wanted me to tell them the basic command for this thing, splitting the string. So I think I told them s.split, because my language is Java, that's what I use. The second question was, again, they wanted me to tell them how to find this thing, siblings in a tree. And the last question that I do remember is, they wanted me to find duplicates in an array, but they wanted me to tell them at least 3 to 4 approaches how to find duplicates in an array. So they wanted me to be, so since I mentioned I was good in Java, they told me that you can use that Java concepts also. So I was like, okay, so let's use hash map, hash set, duplicates in an array, and then starting from the basic, like you can run 2 loops and find it, to optimizing it and using hash set and hash map. So I think, yeah, that was the last question that they
So
ended
this
the
first
round
interview,
on.
went for about 1.5 hours.
No, 1 hour 5 minutes. The second round happened the same day. I think I got my second round link 1.5 hour later on. Later, and then they told me that it's at 5, I guess, and then that went, I think, 1 hour 15 minutes to 1 hour 30 minutes.
Okay,
So
what
it's
did they talk about in that same thing, if you can tell us?
Okay, so the second one was pretty long, and so they started. It was somewhat, I guess, they wanted to check my techno management round, kind of. So he asked me about how, what leadership qualities do I have, and how can I explain them to him with an example. So I gave all this Rivera this thing Rivera and Club, because I was
So for other people,
the
Rivera is the
board.
college fest.
Yeah, so all the college fests, this thing,
Actually,
PAs and
actually, I was
everything.
one of the organizers in that. We brought Pepsi for a
Yeah.
sponsorship of 1 crore.
Oh wow.
And the reason and I'm sure I think in VIT you cannot find Coca-Cola and basically Coke you cannot find
We cannot find
the
Coke.
reason being, again, all the sub brands of Coke, maybe let's say Sprite and all of, no, not Sprite, whatever, let's say Limca is owned by Coke, right? So the reason
Yeah.
why you cannot find Coke in VIT is because they have, since they are giving 1 crore or even more now, maybe. In my time, there were like 1,000 people in 600 people in CSE. Now there are like 2,000 people in CSE, right? So maybe
More
that.
than 2000, I guess,
So
because there have all
yeah.
these specialization branches also.
Correct. So more from 1 crore it would have increased to 3 4 now. So basically they have this contract that okay, if we are sponsoring you for the next 1 year, you cannot sell non-Pepsi beverages on the campus. Again, so sorry
Yeah, you.
to disturb all of you. I thought it would be an interesting fact for other people. Coming back to the interview, they asked about
Yeah.
Rivera and College Fest and all of that.
Yeah, so I told them that that is how I think that I've got my leadership skills and how it has helped me become this ambivert person that I was not before. And so that's all. I think that was the first two to three questions. They asked me about my background and what I'm good at and what interests me in the technological domain. The next days he started was with OS. It was a lot of operating system. matlab. It was it was just one question after another. It was rapid fire. He was playing with me, one question after another, and you have to be really good at the definitions and the core concepts of operating system.
So
Um,
SMT, I remember first come first serve, C
yeah,
scan, uh, priority queue. There's preemptive, non-preemptive,
yeah,
diners,
non-preemptive scheduling, all scheduling
diners
algorithms.
philosopher, and all of this. Everything
Yeah,
he asked.
yeah, totally.
Hmm.
So and he was so he asked me that being from an EC background, do you know anything about OS? I'm like, I have studied. I will try to give my best. But if you're stating something, no, you have to be really good at it in the interview. कि अगर ये आता है तो आता है वरना मत बोलो खुद ही फंसोगे बहुत बुरा. So it's like that. So
Takes a
he
little
started
bit
off.
of takes a little bit of realization. You
Yeah.
attend 3 4 interviews, then rather than adding things, you remove things from the resume.
Yeah, we
Happens
started
with me
to.
also, and I know it. I know that I tell people that okay, do not say things that you do not know in the resume. They're like okay, no, and then they
But
put
then
it
everyone
and
does
then
that in the
remove
starting.
it.
They later on realize that that's not working. You have
Got
to
it.
remove it
So
and
after
start.
OS,
Yeah, so after OS, he asked me about computer networking. And after that, he went on to ask me, I think there were many definitions. There were mostly definitions for, I think, 40 45 minutes. Definitions on, I think it was IoT domain because I'm from IoT. So he started asking me about IoT. He asked me about IoT, and then it
SDLC.
was STLC. He didn't ask me.
Okay.
No, he didn't. He was also asking me about cloud computing because I'd written it on my
Okay.
resume. Cloud computing, and then he asked me about a difference between AWS and Firebase. Um, what else was there? Yeah.
GVMS.
EVMS, he didn't ask me much. He didn't. No, he didn't. It was in the first round only. A
Maybe
bunch that
maybe
they
something
asked.
related to core Java definitions and all of that.
Yes, core Java definitions, and also I think JVM and what is the
Yeah,
background,
that's what
like how
hibernate.
does a Java code gets run. And yeah, so that was for 40 45 minutes, and the next half and the next 40 minutes was coding again. It was on JavaScript and Python. And he told me that okay, so you have like a big dictionary and you have to find duplicates and optimize it. But duplicates in such a way, no, sorry, not duplicates. You have to find the key element and then give me the key value, and one key can have many values. So it was a long taking process. So I think we were discussing, me and the interviewer were discussing the same thing for 30 minutes, the same like back and forth, because I told him that I'm not good at Python. Python is not my frontmost language. But he said that how much ever you know, let's just go with that. And we talked for, I think we discussed the same question for 30 minutes. Then in the end, he asked me, I think that I have two eyes and I have to merge them and then sort them. He wanted two ways to do that. So I mentioned 2 to 3 ways to do that, and then the interview went. Yeah.
You could use merge sort also. Maybe you would have
He
used.
didn't want me to like do directly. He was like, "Pehle, let's go for base and then
Acha.
धीरे धीरे
So ठीक है,
let's level
mostly
up."
more than the code, because now these companies have realized people can mug up code.
Yeah, so they want to
Approach.
and the algorithm that is being used.
And they know for a fact that if somebody doesn't know coding and then have just mugged up code with a little bit of knowledge about that, they get to know from this, because in that case the linear approach of optimization that you would follow, no, that wouldn't be there.
That wouldn't be there.
Right. So maybe
Yes.
maybe let's say there are two arrays. You are starting from one and end also, and then decreasing the indexes maybe from left or right based upon
Yeah.
certain conditions. There's one approach like
Yeah.
that. Obviously, I would want to hear something like this in the type of questions that you asked, that you were
Yeah.
asked. Got it. So no HR.
They okay, yeah. So that was a bit weird to us also that there was no HR for us. I think, yeah, there was no HR.
So
but
I'll tell you the level of difficulty of the Amazon interview of 28 LPA and this
Yeah.
one is exactly the same. One thing that I see missing maybe is maybe because from you are from EC, so you obviously did not have any web development projects. They like to talk about web development a little more from CS people, and they're looking for certifications in that. So if
Yeah.
you're a CSE person and you're going for Amazon interview and you do not have web development certification, almost impossible to get in. I'll not say कि it's zero, but little lesser chances, because they want that, okay, you should know maybe a little bit of web development backend like Node.js, so that they can talk about optimization technologies like. So this is very one famous question that I'm going to tell you that Amazons ask a lot. Two people are purchasing an item at the same time. There's only
Yeah.
one stock. How do you decide that which ones get or what are different approaches that you can follow so that the transaction gets through, and since they don't have units, so both of them don't, right? And how would you give the priority and all of that? So they want it to be implemented maybe in Node.js or backend Java, integrated to front end as well. So even if you don't know front end, they'll still ask you this question. So this is like a basic standard question. Also gets implemented in ATM type of technologies. You have 5,000 balance, you go to 2 ATM and withdraw 4,000 at the same time, right? Doesn't
Yeah.
happen. Let's say you put the card somehow 2 times, you have two cards, maybe something like that, right? So that's one of the most famous questions. For all the other people, just giving you a reference. If you're a CSE graduate, you need to have certifications in web development if you're looking out for a job in Amazon. EC people, I think you're the first one that I interviewed getting selected in Amazon. So that apart from that, everything was same. Long interviews.
I think
Quick definitions,
what also
yeah.
gave me a nudge over others was my project. One was Android app development using cloud, and the second one was using I created a smart glass technology using AWS. So I think that the projects really
Being an
matter.
EC person, you have all of these projects. That's
Yeah, so that has to be there.
if I was an interviewer, no, I would have been impressed there that your knowledge in terms of coding is as par as a CSE person. But even though you may have a lesser number of projects than a CSE people, maybe, I don't know, I've not
Yeah.
looked at your resume, but still
Yeah.
I'll give you preference that you've gotten outside of your comfort zone and learned
Yeah.
something that is outside your curriculum. Right. A lot of people these days do AI and ML type of things, right? Certifications. That is good, But these
Isn't
days
it?
I would want one more project apart from that, maybe in cloud, maybe in IoT, maybe in web development. Right.
Yeah.
So that's good. ठीक है, Sejal, congratulations. We'll do the second
Thank you.
one, just saying bye to everyone. I hope that this video was helpful.